Life Her Podcast.
Hey girl, thank you for tuning in to Life Her Podcast. We are here to inspire you, lift you up, and let you know we see you in all of your love, strength, power, and courage. So sis, let's take a journey together because our experiences are not our own and cycles, they need to be broken. Hey ladies, this is Life Her Podcast. Today we are going to talk about things of being voided in life and also the fact of people not recognizing people that do so many good things in the community and good things within a family and does an amazing job raising their children. And also just the fact of just being a strong woman on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of people don't understand of the trials and tribulations that people go through. You know, they always say, don't judge a book by its cover. So today I would like to welcome you guys with Carlotta Pace. Hi, Carlotta.
Hi.
Thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
That's good. Thank you. I would like to ask you a few questions. Basically, today, what are you doing today? What is your profession?
Okay, so professionally, I am a therapist. I work at Families First, so I do individuals, children, and families. One of the things professionally that I'm trying to work on is becoming more of an advocate for groups and things such as day treatment and IOP classes for teenagers or just younger adults, period. Just simply because I think that we're in a time where that is really what's going on. Like a lot of our babies are utilizing drugs and alcohol at a very early age. And
Wow.
so I'm trying to educate myself a little bit more in that area so that I can move forward and help more.
What is the struggles that you see the most with you being a therapist for minority Black African Americans? What is a struggle that you see within our culture?
I think that one of the greatest struggle is being misunderstood. I think that culturally speaking, we're misunderstood by others, but we don't understand ourselves. And so we lack self-awareness. And when we lack self-awareness, that means we lack so many other things. And so I think the hardest thing is facing the reality that we have very minimal and limited resources for people that we serve.
Right.
It's very difficult to say to, a 19-year-old male who might want to do the right thing or might want to go in the right direction, but I don't have a lot of other males to direct him to, or programming even, because if you don't have a child or if you're not a parent already or in a domestic violence situation, we don't have a lot of resources for people who have that circumstance.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So when people have limited, what is your solution? Doing the best you can, or do you find yourself doing something on your personal needs as far as your own finances or things of that nature?
So it's a little bit of both. I definitely feel like being a therapist is more of a calling. Like, I don't think that you can just be a therapist. Like, you really have to be called to do it in order to be effective, because there is times when you sacrifice from yourself, from your own. But I also think it's about linking to other people. So for me, I find myself linking to people like yourself, where if it's a program that maybe I don't have it, but I could call you and say, hey, Yvette, I got this young girl who need this, and this. Do you think you got somebody that can help her? Or even your program being able to help her. And so I think that linking to other people as a professional is like, it's really major, because even if I don't know, somebody else should know. So I think that that's one of the most things, the most easiest things to do is to stay linked, because somebody should know, and if they don't know, I kind of just keep reaching until I find something. Of course there's been times when I've done it from my own sacrifice,
right?
But I try my best to make it something that I could teach them versus give them,
right?
Because then it's kind of like they're going to repeat the same cycle that led them there, So, churches, other people in the community, believe it or not, I have like a circle of people who I say they're called, but maybe they're not in a profession. Maybe they're not even working sometimes, but they're just people that want to give.
Right.
So I have people all the time who call me and say, well, like right now is the holidays. So people will call me and say, you know, I want to adopt a family, or do you have any kids on your caseload that need a size this in clothes, or, you know, so sometimes it kind of just happens, but that's all about that staying connected, you know what I mean? Staying connected to the community and to other people. So, and that kind of leads to me being in different areas, you know what I mean? So, you know, you have church, but then you have the community stuff like cheerleading and football and just mentoring, whatever we have, because it's all necessary.
Right, it really is. What called you to basically have this calling to go to school and get an education, to be a therapist?
So, wow. So I think in the beginning, I wanted to be a teacher. Right. So I went to school. I started at the University of Akron, and I started a 2+2 program. So I was supposed to get an associate degree in education and go back and get another one. Well, when I got to the end of my 2-year, I go to talk to my student advisor, and I wasn't even working on an education degree. I had been switched over without knowing, right?
Oh, wow.
So I got initially a community service degree, and I liked it.
Wow.
So I started working first in like the day treatment programs at Akron Yvette, and I had already did like some volunteer stuff over there. So I helped start the step team at Bookdom when I was like 16 years old. So that was connected to Yvette. So it was kind of like an easy transition. And then when I did that, I had an associate degree, and I felt like it wasn't enough. I needed to go back and do a little bit more. So I went back and got my bachelor in social work. And then when I was a social worker at Summit County Children's Services, we will always have kids who would be removed from their families and they would go to therapy. And one of the things that I would see was a lot of the therapists would say, well, the problem is they're not in their home. And I would be like, that couldn't be the problem, because they wouldn't be sitting here if that was the only problem.
Yes.
And so I found myself saying, you know what? I just want to help people at a different level, because I don't know, like maybe their job is too hard, maybe. And so I wanted to figure it out. Like I wanted to figure out, could I really help people at this level? Could I really gain a greater understanding of first myself and know what I could do and not do, but then also of someone else and help them reach things that maybe they never thought they could do.
That's good.
So that's how I started doing therapy.
That's a true passion, though. A lot of people really don't, you know, some people go into a field that they just wanted to go into it because a lot of people just book smart. They could just go through with it. But it's nothing like getting services from someone that has a passion in something and willing to help you. So what is, like, do you find yourself being a therapist, needing therapy also?
Oh, God, yes.
Yes.
So I think that the physical degree, that's really what led to it. But spiritually speaking and emotionally speaking, when I began to do it, I knew that it was what I needed to do because of the things I had been through. I have been to therapy before as a child and as an adult. I feel like one of the most important things as a therapist is to make sure that my mental and emotional health is well.
Right.
And a lot of times when you're dealing with everybody else's burdens, you kind of push your own to the side. And if you're not careful, if you're not mindful, you lose yourself. In whatever you might. I mean, sometimes it's not even like a bad thing that you like. I lost myself in parenting. You know what I mean? Because I had to really put everything aside to be a mom, and so I have to find my way now. You know what I mean? Like all of my children are now out of my home. My twins left. I think it's been like 6 months now. I know, right? But you know, it's still new. You know what I mean? So I think that on different levels, I have definitely needed therapy at different times. And you know, as a kid, I went through. I witnessed my mother be physically abused, emotionally abused, and at some point it was like I was the victim, you know what I mean, of her circumstance. So my mother married a man when I was 2 years old, divorced her when I was 19, and most of those years I spent watching her be physically and emotionally abused. And so you kind of wear that cross, so to speak. One of my passions and the things that I would like to move forward with soon is just doing something about, you know, the fact that people think children don't know when there's domestic violence, and they really do on every level. And it's so crazy. So we're talking about this right now, and I think today's Tuesday, so it's 2 days ago.
Wow.
I actually spoke to my stepfather, and I had not even like spoken to him outside of my mother's funeral since I was a little girl.
Wow.
And for me, I know we talked about this a little bit before we started, but I lost my mother in May of this year, and it really shattered my heart. And one of the things that happened, even though it shattered my heart, it was like, without a doubt, God was with me and still with me, but I felt like he was cleansing me so that I can be better.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that we went through, or that I went through as a little girl, I had never dealt with fully. And so I think that when you're in a household where there's domestic violence, there's so many different levels of secrets. You know, you hold it a secret from your friends, or when they find out, you still hold it a secret from other family members, or you don't want to. For me, I was protecting my mother. I didn't want my mom to feel like I was saying something negative about her by talking about it, or by even feeling some type of way about it. When I addressed, one of the times that I went to therapy, me and my mother talked about it, and it was a little bit of a weight off of me, but I had never, ever, ever stood before him and really talked to him about the way that I felt, the way that it made me think in reference to like, it impacts how I dated. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm just now getting to a point where I really know that I want more. You know what I mean? So when I first started dating as a young girl, I really was just trying to date somebody that would protect me from him. You know, because of the domestic violence had got so bad to where when he would jump on my mom, me and my older sister would jump on him. So I mean, I'm 12 and 13 years old fighting an adult. You know what I mean? And so it definitely put some wounds on me, because I feel like I remember, being called out of my name when I didn't even understand what it meant. You know, I remember being told that I didn't fit, I didn't belong, or whatever the circumstance was, because I wasn't his child. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as I started getting older, when I started dating, the first thing was, oh, well, he don't hit me, so he cool.
He cool.
Girl, so many other things flow with relationships.
It's like you won't think about the morals of
Right.
it and how he's really supposed to treat you.
Correct. Because I'm just looking at like, okay, well, so long as he don't hit me, I'm good. I can work with everything else. And it just wasn't, it wasn't at all healthy. You know what I mean? But it was definitely what I did. And then I'm 40 years old, and I feel like I am just getting to a place where I can even see myself as a potential wife.
Wow.
Because I just never ever wanted to be treated like that, you know? And so I've been in relationships, I've been proposed to, but I couldn't submit in that way.
Right.
Because I felt like if that is being a wife, and or if this is what a husband would bring, I really can't do it. I can't do it to myself. I can't do it to my children. So it was a lot of things that I kind of settled for, because I wanted my children to be around their father or to be with their father, but I knew the relationship wasn't right. You know, I knew that we were on two different playing fields in reference to where we wanted to be in life. I knew that probably when I was 19 years old, you know what I mean? But it was like, well, I don't want nobody being mean to my kids. I don't want them around no stepdad, because my stepdad was mean.
How's your stepdad
right?
was.
So here I am, a therapist, but I'm really still working through my own stuff. You know what I mean? Because I understand that everybody's not going to be like that. In essence, every man will not be, a physically abusive man. Every stepfather won't be like that, but you kind of revert to that. You know what I mean? And so I did it for a very long time.
But sometimes with you being in that field of you, it's more like God positioned you to be a therapist. And even though you was going to be a teacher, you go from social work and now therapist, it's like God wanted you to witness a lot of families and a lot of stories of testimonies on the things that families go through. And it's like God, like, okay, your kids are grown now.
Right.
I'm going to start blessing you because you actually see these things going on. And it's crazy because when you find yourself loving yourself at a level, that man in your life that will come into your life will love you the same way of how you always wanted to be loved for so many years. Right. So it's your season.
Hey, I received it.
You better receive it.
I had to grab it. Yes. I mean, and I that's the right on time word, because I feel like that's really truly the season that God has me in.
Yeah, it's like everybody wants a timeline on different things that transpired in their life. Even though us as women, we go through so much, I think we need to just examine the things that we've been through and correct those things of the pros and cons and learn from them and try to excel mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. A lot of women aren't spiritually enough to have a personal relationship with God to know He will get you through it. It's just trusting in Him.
And you know, I think that it's so hard to face yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? One of the things that, because there's been other times in my life where I felt like I was trying to do it, or it was almost like I was getting ready to do it, but I would fall back into depression or sadness or whatever it is I would fall into. But it was those times when my children would, like when my daughter started dating. I have to look at myself, because now I have to know, what did I put before her as an example? So now I got to go to my kids and say, okay, you know what? I don't know that was a good example. You know what I mean? Like,
do you like you saying with your daughter's dating, do you examine the guys that they date to make sure they're not dating their father?
I know, right? And so if I have an opportunity.
Yeah, with you being a therapist, I'm sure you're very observant.
I try.
in communication.
And they know that, though, so it's like with teenagers, you only know so much. You know, the reality is I wish I knew everything they did. I don't. So what that I do know, I try. And I always try to be honest with them about my mistakes. I always try to be honest with them about, like, I feel like there was a lot of me that emotionally wasn't available. Like, I've never left my kids physically. I've been through all type of stuff where life has been hard, but I've always had my kids with me. But I also feel like, because I went through life surviving, I didn't go through life feeling. And so by that I mean, like, it been times when I know I was sad, but I didn't have time to address the sad. So instead of me addressing the sad, I just dealt with the issue.
Keep it moving.
And just keep it moving. And so I remember having times where my godmom would say to me, like, your kids think they can't cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, I used to laugh, like, I never told you couldn't cry, or why do you think that? But it's because they had never really seen me cry. Like, they had never, in essence, seen me cry. You know, even, and it's funny, but when my parents died, that's when they seen me cry.
Wow.
And it wasn't because I've never cried. You know what I mean? I mean, most of the time I would put them in the bed and be downstairs doing homework crying, or be in my car praying and crying and screaming and acting the fool. But I for whatever reason, I was able to put on the face of, we gonna be okay. Because I never wanted my kids to feel lost or hopeless or helpless. You know what I mean? Like, I remember being a little girl feeling like, man, like, how we gonna get through this? And I always felt like kids shouldn't have to feel that. Kids shouldn't have to feel like, how we gonna make it to tomorrow, or how I'm gonna put food in the refrigerator. And so even though it was a good thing in some ways, some of those things I think that I kind of like shielded my kids from too much sometimes.
Right.
Because I think it's good for them to know to not take those things for granted.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
You know, I think that they're living in that now. I know, right? So, because now I just feel like it's time for me to work on me. So I can't move every time you need me to move, and I can't deal with all your stuff because I got my own stuff to deal with.
So as a child, with your mom going through abuse and everything, do you think your mom witnessed her mother being abused also? So that's why she accepted it?
Yes. So, you know, my mother struggled with alcohol. My father and my stepfather both struggled with alcohol and drug addictions. And one of the things that happened for me was, when I was a young adult, like 18 really, I wasn't really in the place where I was ready to forgive my mom. And I met a friend, I can't remember how old I was, but I had to be like around 21, who had been through a lot of things with his mother. And when he would talk to me about his mother, he was so passionate about like the love that he had for her. And I didn't understand it. I mean, here I am. I know that I'm saved. I love God, but I couldn't forgive my parents at the level that he did. And some of the things he had been through with his mom was way worse than the things that I had experienced. And so, and I knew them as a child, but I didn't know their story. And so when he started telling me their story, and be like looking for his mom and checking on her and making sure she okay. And it was kind of like one of those times where I had to look at myself. I had to self-check and say, like, if this dude can forgive his mom, I gotta start working on that. Like, because I haven't forgiven her to that degree. You know what I mean? I've never been disrespectful to my mom, but it's been so many times in my life where I just really felt like a motherless child. You know, and so now that I really am a child, you know, I know I'm 40, but I'm gonna always be my parents' child. Now that they really are gone, it's a very big difference. And so then I started questioning myself, like, okay, Carlotta, you got to work on this, because how do you not forgive? Who are you to not forgive?
Right.
And so I don't know, like after like listening to him and just hearing the forgiveness that he had in his heart, it challenged me to do the same thing.
Right.
And so I started going to my mom and asking her, like, you know, Mom, like, sometimes I'm angry at you or sometimes I'm mad. I feel like maybe you could have protected me from some of the things that happened, and I don't understand it. And so what I learned was that my mother had been molested, raped at an early age. My mother had been physically abused most of her life. My mother had been, you know, my mother was, I think, 14 when she got married the first time. Her first husband was abusive. Her second husband, which was my stepfather, you know, while I was growing up, was abusive. My father wasn't abusive to her, but they never married. And my father my father was a pimp, literally, like a real life pimp. So his lifestyle didn't allow for any space for her to have any type of healing in it. You know what I mean? And so he didn't physically abuse her, but emotionally, to be a woman with a child and you come home and the person that you love in the bed with 3 women, like how you deal with that? You know what I mean? So I started seeing her different because
she
I
didn't
started
know
understanding
how.
that she gave me what she could.
Yeah, she didn't know how. She had no form of direction at all. And that's what goes on in today's world in a lot of families. It's like the cycles keep going over and over. So sometimes when I communicate with people, you know how when people judge another person, it's like you be like, okay, so what went on with your mom? Correct. Okay, what went on with your mom's mom?
Right.
What went on with your mom's mom?
That's right.
You know, it's a lot of things that transpire in people's lives, and sometimes people can't help how they are. Right. It's just how they were raised, and it's not their fault. But it's ways to change it, and I think with you being a therapist and people seeking therapy and finding a root to all of why they are today,
oh my God,
it'll help them a lot. So it's really good that you asked your mom those questions, because a lot of people aren't able to, or they scared to, or don't even think about just writing them a letter if they feel like they can't communicate either.
And you know, that was crazy, because that was one of the things I had to do for therapy. I had to confront all of those things that had held me back for so long. You know what I mean? So I did it, but it was like this, it was a different level of forgiving her. So it was like I respected her, but I still had that stuff in my heart. You know what I mean? And so once I started asking her, I was just like, I don't even know how you raise no kids. You know what I mean? Like going through all of that. The people who harmed her were like her own parents and relatives. And so it's just, you know, I definitely feel like generational curses are something that, you know, you really got to dig deeper, and you have to really try to gain an understanding of a higher power, because it's really the only way out of it. You know what I mean? There is no other escape, and there's no easy way. There's no loophole of like, oh, well, I'm going to go around this corner and cut it. You can't do it. You got to face it head on. You got to deal with it. You have to manage whatever it is you feel, and you grow from it, and you just keep digging and digging and digging, and you know, and sometimes it's hard. You know, I feel like one of the things that I've had to deal with now in reference to my childhood is my self-esteem. You know, I've had times in my life where I didn't want to live. I've had times in my life where, you know, I didn't find myself pretty or worthy or any of those things. And so, you know, here I am trying to put on a smile on the outside, but in the inside I was dying, you know. And I could think of more than one time in my life where I felt like that, you know. And it's crazy, because as much as I miss my mom, as much as definitely if I could change life, you know, I would have her healthy and here. But when my mother passed, it's almost like God sat me down like, you gonna deal with you, period. Like, no more taking care of mom, no more taking care of this person or that person. Like, regardless to what I do outside of myself or in the community, like, I have to deal with me. I have to look at myself every day. I give sometimes people the exercise of looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, or say, doing the I am statements, or just looking at yourself sometimes, because the first thing we do when we look at ourselves is we want to fix something.
Yeah.
And so now, even right now as we speak, I'm in a moment of, I need to be able to look at myself and love it. I need to be able to look at myself,
embrace
and say
it.
Everything. You know what I mean? From my flaws to, the things that maybe I didn't see as beautiful before. Even today, I looked at a picture and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm finally starting to feel like I can look at a picture and love it. You know what I mean?
Dang, girl, you look like...
I'm serious, but and that's Carlotta. Because it's I feel like I went from being a child trying to protect my mom and my family, because I had siblings that were younger, and then moving straight into being a mom. And because I didn't want my kids to lack anything, so it's been times when we were homeless and my kids didn't even recognize it. Like, they asking for people to spend a night. We're homeless. Like, no, they can't spend a night. You know what I'm saying? But it was because they didn't even recognize the place in life that we were, so. It
seems like you didn't burden your kids with your own personal problems.
I tried.
That's what it seemed like what you did. And that's so appreciative. And some people don't know how important and valuable that is, to not pin your own adult issues onto your child, so they could keep their innocence.
Right.
That's really good.
Right. Oh, thank you.
It is.
It's difficult, and I think that's probably the reason why I like doing any kind of helping somebody, because I think that in life sometimes if you just got a person that can say it's gonna be okay, or a person that can tell you, like, look, it's hard, girl, but you can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and life is truly hard. Like, sometimes I even if I watch the things that go on in our community, like right now, we're in the lead for things like kids dying under the age of 18 months. You know what I mean? Like, the bully rate and kids committing suicide or trying to commit suicide is growing every day. You know what I mean? Like, right here in our area. So when I think about that kind of stuff, it's hurtful. You know what I mean? But then I also think about that, that young man that's 30 or 40 years old and maybe selling drugs, but at the end of the day, this is all they've ever known, and all they want to do is take care of their family. So it's like I'm very grateful, because I feel like the gifts that God has given me is being able to trying not to be judgmental.
Yes.
Because I think that I'm human, so sometimes maybe I have to catch myself. But overall, like, I'm very forgiving. I'm very I try not to judge people, and if I make a mistake, like, I don't have a problem with saying I'm sorry, or please tell me what I did so I can fix it and not do it the next time. But that's important, because people need to know that somebody loves them somewhere. Even when I think about the state of the young men, like, it's scary.
It is.
Because they don't care, and they don't care because they haven't had anybody show them care or love or genuine affection. You know
it's
what I
really
mean?
Bad now with the younger. It amazed me over the summer how so many young men, I'm talking about under 15 years old, getting killed.
Yes.
And you were like, what was he doing?
Man.
So it's really sad, and a lot of people just don't examine things like that. But it comes from households.
Right.
Like, people, we got to gather our households up, grab our babies, hold them, love them, talk to them, tell them I love you. Communication is everything in the household. It is.
It is. And that, again, it's that challenge of looking at yourself every day. And being willing to face it. Like, I've had to apologize to my children for making poor choices. Like, as a mom, I made a poor choice. Like, I didn't look at if this person was healthy enough to make a child with him. I just was like, I'm doing what I'm doing, and oh well. You know what I mean?
Your babies love you, though.
Oh, and I love my kids. I know that without my kids, I don't know where God would have me, but I know that it would have taken me a longer time to manage and catch on to life.
How old were you when you had your first child?
I was 19 when I had my son.
So how did you get through your college education, being homeless, and going through so much? How did you get through all of that, going through so much?
If I had to explain in one word, it would be God. It would be God himself. But I think that, like, when I was 19, I had my first child. By the time I was 21, I think I had all my kids by the time I was 22. So I had 4 kids by the time I was 22. And I just remember before the final time of dropping out of school, like, I dropped out of school probably 5 or 6 times, that, like, I kept dropping out. Like, I got my associate degree, I dropped out. I went back to school. Before I could get my bachelor's degree, I got pregnant again, I dropped out. I went back to school and I was like, I ain't doing this, forget it, dropped out again, trying to just work a job here and there and do what I can do to take care of my family. But the Holy Spirit has always been inside of me. And so when I would be faced with a challenge of, like, somebody putting me down or making me feel less than, it would make me go harder. All the times when I feel like, and unfortunately at that time, even, like, the people in my life who were, like, my stepfather, the people who treated me wrong, you know what I mean? Like, they were my encouragers, because every time they said I couldn't, I knew I could. You know what I mean? Every time I looked at an issue or a battle, I just had to sometimes sit down and figure it out. But I knew that I would conquer it. Like, I had something in the inside of me saying, like, do it, get it. You know what I mean?
Turn your pain into power.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you did.
Like, I had the twins. And that was probably the most devastating point of my life in reference to having children, because I had 2 kids and I had made the decision that I wasn't having no more kids. And so I was on birth control, and this is really funny, but no lie, I was intimate one time for real, right? And so I just did not understand how God put that on me. You know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there and I'm going to, I thought I had the flu or something. And I get the results back and they like, oh, you pregnant? Who pregnant? I just had a menstrual cycle or everything. Like, ain't no way, right?
And you like, what's going on?
Ain't no way. The man said, well, hey, listen, if you want to pay for ultrasound, I can show you, but you pregnant. So literally the same day I found out I was pregnant, they do the ultrasound and it's 2. Oh, okay. God trying to kill me. Okay. So, but I remember crying and just crying out to God and saying, God, if you could just give me a peace of mind about this, I would be so careful to give you all the glory and all the honor, because I really didn't know how I was going to make it. Like, I really felt like I was losing everything. Like, I knew that I didn't want to be with their father. I was beyond the stages of being done with it. And so I couldn't move myself physically. I couldn't see past it. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And so I just started clinging on to God and just saying, like, for real, God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And so either I'm a for real forever be a hood rat, or I'm going to figure it out. Like, for real. Like, I really can't stay in a position of always looking for somebody else to do something for me. I really can't. Like, I got to do this. Like, I got to figure it out.
Going from 2 to 4.
I'm telling you.
Easy.
Oh, my God. It was crazy. That was crazy. Every time I think about that, it was crazy, because I remember the tears of that. I remember feeling like, I really can't believe this is happening. You know what I mean? But I also remember coming to that level of acceptance, like, God has something greater for you to do. And at the end of the day, what you gonna do? You know what I mean? Or you go drown, you go swim, what you gonna do? And God is always, I've always had an experience with God, like, where He not allowing me to sit in a pity party. Like, He not gonna allow me to say, oh, okay, you sad? Let me send you 10 people to help. No. He be like, you sad? Okay, girl, get up.
Get up. Keep it moving.
Up. Dig deeper, get up, and I mean, that's really what I had to do. Like, I had to take one thing at a time. Like, okay, so first, let me deal with my housing. Okay, next, let me deal with this. Next, and I just had to keep doing. But I really did. I dropped out of school, I don't even know, like, at least 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
But I just kept going back until
I finished it. You finished.
So I have a master's degree in individual and child therapy, and I don't even know what my bachelor's is in. I know it's in social work. Ain't that funny? But, I just kept going back until the job was done.
That's
and
good.
So, that's really what you have to do in life. Like, I think that a lot of times life catches us by surprise.
So I'm big on my ladies bragging. So brag to us on how successful your kids are.
Oh, my gosh. So, okay, so my oldest is, 21? And as of today, has 2 degrees, and one in education, the other one in elementary education. I think he's like a semester away from his bachelor's degree. He's the father of 2 children, works 2 jobs. Still plays basketball. My second child is, well, I have 3 girls and a boy, so all the rest of my children are girls. Javon is currently in Baltimore in school. She's working on her second year of school. She's going to school to be a probation officer, and plays basketball. Oh gosh, she do every sport. So she do basketball, volleyball, and baseball.
Okay.
That's so exciting all by itself, because I remember when Javon didn't want to go to school at all. Like, she was so like, I'm not going to school. When I got to high school, it's over. I'm not doing this. I'm going to the military.
And now look at her.
And yes, it's so funny. But I remember saying to her, like, okay, listen, you can go to the military. The military will always be there. Give me 1 year. Give me 1 year. And if you get past that year and you don't want to do it, it's fine. And so now she be like, no, because I'm about to go to this 4-year school. So she love it now, you know.
That's good.
Yes. It's funny to see the difference.
Right.
But and then the next is the twins. So Carrier is my oldest twin, probably the kid that is more like me. Spiritually speaking, Carrier, I say, when I had a time in my life where in 2009 I started getting really sick. And it took a couple of years for them to figure out what was going on with me, but before they could figure it out, I was like, at times, you know, in the hospital for days and weeks at a time. And Carrier, well, actually all the girls started going to Yeepaw, and in that time I feel like Carrier was the one in the house praying for every soul. Okay. Wow. I feel like Yeepaw introduced her to a world of getting to know God for herself, and because of that, it was able to encourage me sometimes. But Carrier is at a school in Lansing, Michigan.
I like Michigan. I'm gonna say, I think that's in Michigan.
She's in Lansing, Michigan. Same thing though. She's going to school actually to be a social worker. And I just found out yesterday that she teaches children's church. I'm so excited. So she didn't tell me at first because she said she didn't know if she wanted to keep doing it. And yesterday she told me, like, well, because I've been teaching the kids church, so I have to go do my lesson. And so I was so excited about that. I think that's the vibe, because I feel like when they find their way, I don't know, that's just one of the most encouraging things. Like, to just watch them find their way in life. Yes. So she's going to school to be a social worker, but she plays basketball too. And then my granny, my youngest, Graye, she wants to be a nurse. Okay. And so she's also in Michigan, but she's in Jackson. Okay. So same thing, she's on a scholarship for basketball, but she wants to be a nurse. And right now, I feel like Graye, she is truly the baby of our family. My testimony about Graye is that Graye is my child that struggled as a student. Okay. And she has an IEP. She is ADHD, and before, there was a time in our life where she had therapy, and the therapist was saying like she was a very low spectrum of autistic, and I just remember saying, like, we're not gonna put no labels on her. Like, it can be whatever it need to be on paper. Do what you got to do, but she go push. You know what I mean? And so I really feel like it's such a blessing for her to be in school, because you know, I know that people feel like sometimes kids with the IEP get help. I also know that I've seen the other side of that. Like, I've seen the kid who sit at the table for 7 hours and really truly don't understand it, or, you know, go through note cards and study in every way they can, but really just don't understand the concept as something that I take for granted. You know what I mean? I can sit down and read a paper, and like that, I got it. You know, where I can see her read something for 2 weeks and still be like, okay, wait, what did it say? You know what I mean? And so, you know, I just, academically speaking, like, I'm so proud of her, because everything that, you know, she thought she couldn't do, she's done. You know what I mean? It shows
how you are as a mother, too. Right. You know, it takes a lot of encouragement from home. Yes. To put the love into your child. Yeah.
You got to keep encouraging them. Even when they go to the left, so to speak. You have to keep encouraging them, because it's been so many times. Like, I remember even when she learned what an IEP was, and so people would tell her like, "Oh, you got an IEP, you don't got to do that," and I'd be like, "Who? What we doing? Oh, because we got to do the other stuff first, you know." So my way with her is always, you go get the same thing everybody else got first, and whatever you need help with is what we'll do. Right. But we not just gonna say you can just skip it, because ain't no loopholes in life. You know, life just don't work like that. Nothing is gonna be given to you. No. And so I'm super grateful for that, because it's really her motto now. So sometimes she cry, but she do it. And that's all that mattered to me.
Well, hey, you gotta get that tough love for you to keep pushing forward.
Yes. But I'm so grateful for them. So grateful.
That's good.
That they are really my pride and joy.
That's good. So what is something real encouraging that you could say to women that are listening?
Ooh, let's see.
I think this is like my most difficult question for a lot of women, because some women just be wanting to go in and like, look, girl.
I know. So, I guess it's like a twofold motto. The first part of it would be never give up on anything. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on believing that it's something inside of you that's greater than anything else. And the other part of it is everybody need help sometimes.
Yes.
When you're strong, you kind of get, and then even when you go through things, people take advantage of you or people do you wrong, so to speak. So you start feeling like, oh, I ain't never asking nobody for help, or I ain't ever, like, I don't know, nowhere in the Bible where people was a king and didn't get help. Mm-hmm. Or nowhere even in our history where when you look at the LeBron Jameses, the Oprah Winfrey, the whoever it is, that the image that you see, they got help from somebody. And you can't be afraid of that. Like, you have to embrace whatever it is that God give you as your help. You have to embrace it because it's going to be the way you get to where you got to go. Mm-hmm. But just don't quit. Like, don't give up, you know. Even if you have to sit yourself aside sometimes you need quiet time, but never quit. Never give up.
That's good. I wanted to let our viewers know the reason being for me bringing Carlotta here is a lot of people don't know. Carlotta gives a lot into the community. She supports so many people, and I love every bit of it. You know, sometimes you have those secret watchers. I'm like one of them secret watchers because I like to always look at women that help do so much for others. And when I see no one isn't doing absolutely nothing for them at times, I would like to be the one to encourage them and uplift them and let them know that you are noticed and you are loved.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's just needed. I just like to see women just feel good about themselves. Yeah. And it's kind of sad we in a today's society of women always bringing each other down and tearing them apart. But it's like we all battling something.
Yes, Jesus.
And, you know, it's another thing as far as how women are. You know, you could share a lot of things of your personal life. But, you know, when somebody get mad at each other or something, when I share something with you from the heart, you go and talk about me. Right. So that's a real struggle in today's society also. And that's another reason why I wanted to bring you here, because a lot of people know since my mom passed and even when she was in a coma, Carlotta has reached out to me on numerous times. Even when I was just down and out and I just didn't feel like talking to nobody, I looked at my messages, and she's probably like the only one I really respond to all the time for the most part. But it's a struggle, and I see a lot of women has reached out to me that lost their mothers, reached out to me, and I was like, wow, or just lost a parent, and I didn't know it was like this painful. Right. And it's something you will never ever get over. Right. So I really appreciate you a lot.
No problem. And you're absolutely right. I feel like when I see somebody say they're about to lose a mom or dad or a child, I think that I lost both of my parents within 3 years. I lost my dad in May of 2016, my mom in May of this year. And it's truly, so far in my life, been the greatest pain. But I also believe that it's been something that has brought me to a different level of me. Mm-hmm. I actually did the eulogy for both of my parents' funeral. And, man, you talking about having to dig deep, like
deep.
Oh my God. I almost didn't even go. Like, I remember for my dad's funeral, I changed my outfit 20 times. Like, it kept feeling like nothing was right, nothing would work, nothing would fit. But it was just my emotional stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like so scared, so nervous. I wanted my parents to be proud. My mom helped me through his eulogy. And then when my mother got sick, she asked me about doing her eulogy because she didn't want anybody else outside of my godmother, who is Dr. Graham, to do her eulogy. But she was like, well, if you can't do it, have her. But I would prefer for you to do it. And I just felt like I could not do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And in those moments, it gave me a different strength. But afterwards, I was depleted,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like the month of May and June skipped me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was hard because my twins were graduating from school.
Mm-hmm.
We buried my mother on, I don't know, in my mind right now, we buried my mother Wednesday. We had to send my kids off to prom by Friday. And so, it was just hard. I mean, there's really no other word. And, but I do think that it is so important to stay connected, and that even when you don't feel like getting up, remember all the joy that your mom brought, all the laughter and all the things that she taught. You know what I mean? Like, one day we will only be a memory to somebody else.
Yes.
And so when you understand and you come to an understanding about life and death, you know that they're connected. And so you can't have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so no matter how much it hurts, and I think that's probably one of the first things I think about when I wake up in the morning and when I go to sleep at night is my mother and my father. But I also know that I want to keep going so that my children can look at me and know how to push past that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day they may have to deal with the same pain. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know when our times will cross or come, but I want to also make my parents proud,
Mm-hmm.
And so you just have to keep digging deeper. And so I want you to stay encouraged. And I know you might not feel like talking sometimes, and I'm okay with it. Because I remember,
I just be having my moments.
Yes.
And I found myself, it was like on 2 occasions, I was literally up for 48 hours.
Right.
I ain't getting no sleep because it's like I was scared to go to sleep because
I knew. Face it again.
Yeah, it's like I gotta wake up and I just can't call her
and face it all over.
Yeah,
that was my first realization of my mother passing.
Yes,
was the fact that if I go to sleep, I'm gonna wake up and she's still not gonna be here.
Yes, and it's the worst. It's the worst.
When my father passed, I felt like it was hard, but it was like I was fighting something else.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the room when my father passed, and I was in. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was in a state of shock still. Like, the nurse was like, "He gone." I was like, "He is not."
Oh,
like,
wow.
My dad is not dead. Like, he playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that
Mm-hmm.
could playing. And it took me a longer time to really come to grips with. I think the day of the funeral, I was like, my dad is really dead.
Wow.
And it stung me, but it was so many things that I was grateful for. Like, my dad was a character. He was funny, you know what I mean? So he was fun to be around. And so I try to remember those things. But my dad was also a realist. Like, my dad didn't believe in faking to be somebody that he wasn't. And so I try to walk in that a little stronger now. Like, I've always been kind of timid because of the things that I've been through. And so now sometimes I find myself putting on that coda of, like, it is what it is. I am who I am, unapologetically. And that's how my father lived. My mother was more timid, but she was also very straightforward, one-on-one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just try to take the good stuff and utilize it.
Yes, we have to.
Yeah.
Constantly. So I would like to know, how can individuals get in contact with you just in case that they may need therapy? Or even, y'all, Carlotta does speaking engagements. So y'all can invite her to come speak to your family, friends, events, or anything of that nature. So how can they get in contact with you?
So they can call me directly, 330-431-6761.
Okay.
I'm also working on right now starting grief classes.
Great.
So I will probably, I should have probably brought that information, but I will make sure I send it to you.
Okay.
Because I will be starting grief classes at the library.
Oh, that'll be so needed.
So I just have to confirm. It's either next Thursday or the Thursday after. So when we did competition, I kind of like got lost a little bit.
Okay, you already know y'all be hyped.
Oh God, yes. So
okay.
But I am going to be starting grief courses, and it has a different kind of twist. Like God has really blessed me with some stuff about grief that I never imagined would help me. But I believe that it's helped me, and I know that it's an ongoing process. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I feel like if it helped me, and I've battled with depression most of my life, mm-hmm. if it has helped me, I believe it can help somebody else.
Definitely.
And so I'm gonna
make sure walking testimony. Yes. So I would like to thank everyone for tuning in to Life Her Podcast, where we help heal women all over the world. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Life Her Podcast, and also on Facebook. And we also have our website, lifeherpodcast.com, to listen to other podcast episodes and purchase merchandise. I am Yvette Lloyd, and I am Life Her. Love yourself, ladies. Thank you for tuning in.